All right, everybody, what is going on? Good afternoon. Just wrapped up the show with Brandon of the Hawk's Nest. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that show live, then definitely check it out on the VOD. I don't know if it's already up on my channel or not, but if not, it will be very soon. So went like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So a lot of good stuff in there. Definitely go give it a watch. We talk about a lot of different things. We just kind of let the super chats steer the conversation, and it's definitely worth listening to. So, making this video because one thing that has happened today is that we've gotten a lot of news concerning the coaching staff. So, the Seahawks are building out their coaching staff a little bit, and they're also trying to protect some coaches from potentially leaving. And we're starting to get a pretty good idea of where things are headed, I think. So, let's take a look, starting with two new hires. All right, guys, before we go any further into the video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about my friends over at Sleeper. Sleeper is a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. Download the app to your phone. You can celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get scores, news, and alerts with blazing fast speed. And you can play in daily fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports together. Download Sleeper today, and don't forget to use my promo code SBN for up to $100 match on your first deposit. Plus, they currently have a free $20 entry, no deposit required, just make an account. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper and have fun with sports this year. All right, so this is from earlier this morning. The Seahawks have hired a former Baltimore Ravens assistant quarterback coach, and this one's interesting. So Daniel Stern is the guy's name. He was with the Ravens for the last, I think it was like 6 years or something, and it's believed that he is going to be the pass game strategist or maybe pass game coordinator, which is notable because that is Jake Peetz's current job. So some are wondering if maybe Daniel Stern is coming in here to replace Jake Peetz, either because Jake Peetz is leaving, Jake Peetz is getting a different role, or maybe even becoming the new Seattle offensive coordinator. So that's interesting. But the main thing that Daniel Stern did in Baltimore was help with game management and mostly analytics on fourth down situations. So maybe they want some of that. Obviously, he's learned a lot over the last 6 years, but that's why he was initially brought in. So we'll see what this ends up meaning. I definitely want to see what role Stern ends up getting, but he was known as kind of an analytic guy, the guy who would tell you, do we go for it on fourth down here? Do we punt it? Do we kick a field goal? That kind of stuff. He would know the math behind those decisions, and Harbaugh hired him for assistance there. The Seahawks during the 2025 season, very rarely did they go for it on fourth down. They almost always opted to kick it one way or the other, and maybe they want to get away from that. I don't know though, because it worked out really well for them, and at the end of the day, their defense is so good, it makes sense to just kick and trust the defense a lot of the time. So I don't know if this is an analytics move or if it's just time for Daniel Stern to get an opportunity to move up in the world. But remember, him and McDonald obviously crossed paths in Baltimore a lot because that's where McDonald comes from. All right. The second hire, and this is actually a pretty big one, you've got Zachary Orr, former Ravens defensive coordinator, has been hired by the Seahawks as the inside linebacker coach. Now, this is one that there is a very clear connection with Mike McDonald. McDonald was the defensive coordinator in Baltimore while Zach Orr was the linebacker coach there. So it makes a lot of sense why Orr or why McDonald would want Orr as his inside linebacker coach now. Now, Orr did not do great in Baltimore as the defensive coordinator. Their defense really fell off hard these last 2 years. He obviously took the place of McDonald when McDonald left to go be the head coach in Seattle. But Zach Orr is, I think, very, very proven as an inside linebacker coach, looking at what he did in Baltimore before McDonald left. And we know that McDonald wanted Orr last year or 2 years ago when he ended up hiring Aiden Dirty. So this is somebody that McDonald has wanted on the staff, couldn't get him. And it makes sense why he couldn't get him, because Orr had an opportunity to call plays in Baltimore. But now that that hasn't really worked out, it looks like he's coming. And the notable thing here is that other teams were looking at Orr as a defensive coordinator, like, for instance, the Raiders. He decided he'd rather be in Seattle as a positional coach than in Las Vegas as a defensive coordinator with presumably play calling. So that tells you that people want to be here. This is an appealing spot for coaches and hopefully one for players as well. And this is something that McDonald loves. So this is a really good one. This is a really strong one. I'm really happy about this one. I think that Orr could make a difference on this staff. The current inside linebacker coach, hold on one second. Sorry, I didn't want to mess up his name. Kirk Olivadotti. I think that's how you pronounce it. There's some rumors that he might step away from coaching for a year or maybe go to Vegas with Kubiak. But Orr is going to take his place, and as much as a positional coach can be upgraded, I'd consider that to be an upgrade. Orr is, again, somebody McDonald wanted 2 years ago, and I think he's really happy to have him back now. All right, so that's the big one. The other thing going on right now would be stuff with the assistants that were already on the team. So we had this from Rappaport earlier today. Carl Scott, who had been interviewing for defensive coordinator jobs, is planning to remain with Seattle. So Carl Scott, who is the one coach that was brought in under Pete Carroll and remained under McDonald, is still going to be here. He's the defensive pass game specialist and defensive backs coach. I'd say he's pretty good in that role, given where this team has been and where they are now. He has done some play calling on defense in preseason games, and when that happens, I think you can notice that McDonald is clearly a better play caller, but I think that in the role of being a defensive back coach, he has proven to be quite good. We've had a lot of good defensive backs over the last few years. A lot of them had to be developed by this team. So I'm happy that he's still here. Clearly, we still want him. We wanted him so much. He was the only coach we retained, I think, when we fired Pete Carroll, and we keep him for at least one more year. So I'm going to chalk that up to good news. We also had this. The Raiders requested an opportunity to interview Justin Outten for run game coordinator, which would have been a lateral move because he's the run game coordinator here. So the Seahawks blocked the request. So not doing Kubiak any favors here, not letting him take Outten with him. And also keep in mind, he's the assistant offensive line coach here. So if Benton leaves, maybe Outten becomes our offensive line coach, just the head offensive line coach. But a lot of people think the reason why this is happening is that Outten is going to be the offensive coordinator, and we're blocking him from interviewing because we're already planning to give him that position. And a lot of people think there's a lot of reason to believe that Outten is going to be the OC, and that if he wasn't, we probably wouldn't bother blocking this request. We'd let him go to the Raiders. I have mixed feelings about that, of course, but it seems like this is the way things are going right now. Perhaps in a couple weeks, things will change. Maybe the interview won't go well, but it looks like Outten is going to be the new OC. That is the smart bet right now. We also did get this, though. The Raiders are interviewing one current Seahawks coach, the wide receiver coach, Frisman Jackson. He's been here for the last couple years, so give him a lot of credit for developing JSN. I think you could maybe go as far as giving him credit for that. But Frisman Jackson is getting an interview opportunity with the Raiders as the offensive coordinator, which would be a big step up for him. But I'm happy with the job he did in 2025. So if he gets it, then he earned it. And I wish him the best of luck. Obviously, it's just an interview right now, and if he goes to the Raiders, he's not going to call plays because Kubiak's going to be the play caller, I'm sure. But this is one of the guys it looks like we might lose. And we also had this just recently from Pelissaro. The Raiders are going to interview our safety coach, Jeff Howard, on Saturday, so tomorrow, for defensive coordinator. And Jeff Howard was in Minnesota with Kubiak previously. So Jeff Howard and Kubiak do have a little bit of a connection here, and Jeff Howard may end up leaving. Obviously, it's a safeties coach. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything that Jeff Howard brings to the table, but you would say that on the surface of it, he did a pretty good job when you take a look at Seattle safeties the last couple years and the progress they've made. Like Kobe Bryant wasn't even a safety 2 years ago, and now he's a safety that's probably going to get a bunch of money this offseason. So those are the guys who could leave. For whatever it's worth, Mike McDonald was quoted earlier today saying that he expected every coach that was still under contract to come back, which implies that they're not going to just let people go for free. If you want our position coaches, you need to give them promotions. If it's lateral, we're going to block it, and we're going to try to keep the show together as much as we can. So it seems like there's not going to be a ton of turnover in this coaching staff, so that's cool. I mean, this coaching staff just won the Super Bowl, so I want to keep as much of it as possible. All right, so that is the latest and greatest on Seahawks coaching updates. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get out of here. I got more videos posting later today. Keep an eye out for that. We're going to be going late tonight, but overall, I'd say good news on this front. Go Hawks.